Elden Ring was one of the biggest, most amazing, and very successful games that I've played in the last couple of years. It absolutely blew my mind. Now, I'm not one of those people who play every single FromSoft game and finish it like 4 times over and obsess about it all the time, but I have played Bloodborne and a whole bunch of Dark Souls 3, and so I knew what I was getting into, jumping into this into Elden Ring. And I landed up finishing the whole game. Took me over 200 hours because I took my time and I just really enjoyed it. So, of course, now that the DLC Shadow of the Erd Tree was coming out, I was quite excited to jump back in. So, I had pretty much forgotten everything that I had done before. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was excited to jump in. So, I wanted to quickly give you some impressions of how it is so far, what I think of it, how I've been navigating it, and also, talk about this topic that's been going around about how it's really, really tough. So, is it? Well, that's exactly what I want to talk about. So I had to get my bearings and figure out how the hell to play the game and what I was doing. So I did that a little bit. I started a new character just to do the tutorials again, and then went back to my level 176 character to jump into the DLC. Now, the first thing that I need to talk about is just how when I walked into this area with the DLC and, you sort of navigate a cave and come out into the world, the visuals and the art just blew my mind once more. It reminded me what's so incredible about Elden Ring and the team that makes it. It feels like something you've sort of never seen before, and everything you see in front of you feels like it's laid out like something I put on Twitter recently, which was, it reminds me of those old Castlevania key box arts where you see the character in the foreground and then you see the castle up in front of him. It's like they've nailed that whole idea, except you're actually in the game looking, and they've sort of laid out the world in front of you, and you're going to go there, then you're going to go there, and you're going to go there, and that is the path, that is the game laid out in front of you. I love that. It's so cool. So this new area you get into, it's massive and open and it's beautiful. It's got these concepts and ideas that are just so fresh and so different. All these sort of ghost gravestones all over these big lands and plains and things, and just amazing, just incredible. I really was blown away, jaw hanging on the ground sort of moment when I came out of there. So I just really had to talk about that first because it was incredible. So after that, you get moving and you go forward, and then death happens. And a lot of it, because what they like doing in games like this, and what the creator Miyazaki likes doing, is to give you a good hard lesson early on to remove any sort of idea you had about how good you were at this game, and also to just humble you and put you in your place. And besides a few of the things that I ran into in the world itself, there's like this sort of side optional boss that's right near the beginning that just absolutely wrecks your face, and it took me quite a bit of time to get back to him. Now that seems kind of familiar, right, to anyone who's played Elden Ring, because they put that douchebag on the horse right in the beginning of the game, in the first game, to do exactly the same thing. He's there to teach you a lesson. He's there to put you in your place and make you realize how this game works. Hey, you can't just run in and hit things. There are things out there that are bigger than you and stronger than you, and you are going to need to think about how you approach this. You're going to need to come back and take them on again. And I think that's kind of cool because, you know what, as much as some people might complain, I mean, I saw some great memes about it hitting the internet like straight away, but what I really like about it is it got me into gear so quick. I ran into a couple of things in the world that kicked my butt. There's like these murder turkeys. Well, that's what I call them. They're these murder turkeys that sort of just go at you. And some weird thing with like rings on its head, and a great X-Men Easter egg, which I'm not going to spoil for you. But when I ran into this dude and he kicked my butt, it forced me to have to get my stuff together real quick. So, but I started once again thinking, how the hell do I play this game again? What are the buttons? Like, I literally was struggling with the buttons again. Like, what do I press? How do I do these things? What the hell does this thing do again? And just one full sort of day later, I was sitting up at 1 o'clock in the morning I'd come back to this dude, and I was taking him on over and over again because I wanted to beat him, but I had all my shit was in order, everything, because I was now The game had put me in a place where I was like, I have to figure this stuff out if I want to keep playing, and it did it in a way that was quite natural instead of, doing it very video gamey and putting you through these other ways. So it kicked my ass into gear, and I love that, and it got me going. And I realized just with this guy alone, again, he's optional. Leave him alone. Go somewhere else. But, I did. I went to a whole bunch of other places. I sort of made my way almost all the way up to where the first main boss is. And then I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing now. Let me come back. And I went back, and he still kicked my butt because I realized that I didn't have certain things in order. I got that right. And then it was, still a bit of a tough fight, but I got him. And I teabagged the living hell out of his dusty corpse location. I don't know what to call it because they disappear. But I teabagged him nonetheless, real hard, because I felt so good. And that is why these games are so good. And anyone who knows and plays these games knows that's why people just keep ranting on about these games. They put a big challenge in front of you. They're not for everyone. And they force you to face yourself. They force you to fix your side of the bargain, and get your shit in order so that, you have to do this. You have to achieve it. And when you do, you feel amazing, which is exactly what I felt last night when I went to bed way too late. But that son of a bitch was dead. And I was so happy about it. So moving on, it felt so good to get back into a world like this and start adventuring and exploring. And, I love that idea that if you can see it, you can go to it. It's not the first game to do stuff like that, but I just like the way they present that. And yes, this game is tough. I jokingly also said, I see someone else was saying it as well on Twitter, that, it feels more like it's shifted. It's become like a survival horror. And I even had a really funny moment because me and a friend were playing at the same time, and we were chatting on the Discord group while we were playing, and it's just the noises coming out of him and coming out of me while we were playing were just hilarious because it doesn't sound like someone's playing like an action RPG or an RPG or something like this. It sounds like they're playing a horror game because you just keep having, you just keep hearing weird gasps of air and what the hell is that, and no, and all that sort of stuff. It's good fun. But yeah, it's tough. You run into things that just absolutely flatline you pretty easily, and you gotta get your stuff together. But I'll get back to that in a moment because there's an element here that really needs to be discussed, especially if we're talking about how difficult this DLC is. So what is cool about it though is that as tricky and rough as it is, the game is pretty, it's beautiful, and it's mysterious, and it's fascinating. So no matter what I'm dealing with or what difficult things are in front of you, you want to see what happens next. You want to go around that next corner or climb that staircase because it's worth it, because it's actually worth it. And that's why there's something quite special here. So yeah, between the murder turkeys and the sub bosses and the Easter eggs and all that sort of stuff, there's a whole combination of things that are feeling really good here. And they've also changed some stuff just for the DLC, where there's these very specific pickups that you get that boost your character and Torrent the horse and I think it's your ashes and stuff like that. These things are quite important because if you don't collect these, it doesn't sort of power you up enough for these areas. And they only work there. Like I said, they only work inside the DLC. So when you leave and go back to the other areas, that stuff doesn't apply anymore. But it's an important part. So that, along with new areas, new weapons, new enemies, and all of that, is really what makes up this DLC. And again, I've only scratched the surface. I've gotten as far as and killed the first boss just before making these impressions. And I mean, I just need to point out as well, the first boss was a cakewalk compared to that dude in the beginning I told you about, that optional guy that absolutely floored me. Like, it took many tries to kill that guy, like 50 or more for me. Whereas the boss, I think on my second go, I came back, I did use a mimic ash to help me out and stuff. But I mean, with some good weapons and a good setup and everything, I took him out pretty quick. Amazing boss, by the way, just absolutely gorgeous design and movement and animation. I've seen people just completely gushing over this thing online and stuff, and it's such a cool design, nice cutscene and stuff to get into it as well. So that's where I am, and again, this is when we're talking Elden Ring terms, scratching the surface of what's out there. So I haven't gone that far to tell you exactly what it's going to be like and how hard it gets and all of those things, but what I can tell you is it's good to be back. It feels great. It's delivering very solidly on its promise and its value for money. This reminds me a lot of Phantom Liberty, which I played recently for Cyberpunk, where that game needed to get its crap in order, which it did, and now that it has gotten its crap in order, it is excellent as a base game. And Phantom Liberty was this massive expansion that sort of takes place in the middle of it that added hours and hours. I mean, I spent easy 40 plus hours in that. And this is going to be around about the same. I think this one is about 20 hours main story or main stuff and 40 plus, depending on what you do with the rest of it. So the first game already, I didn't review the first game for our site and for, the site and channel. I actually gave a PC code to someone else to review it, and I bought the first game, and which isn't something I need to do that often these days for new games. And it felt like I got every single cent, worth of value out of that purchase. Like, it was worth all of it. It was so much bigger than I thought. It was so much better than I thought. I think I played it. I think the first Elden Ring playthrough, that playthrough of mine, I think I played that game over like 2.5 to 3 months or something. Like, it was amazing. I was playing it every single day. Like, that is what a video game should deliver, right? So yeah. So getting back to this whole thing about, a discussion about how difficult it is. Yes, it's difficult. Things are kicking your ass. I'm running into dudes who are just like walking around and patrolling like this big, there's like these big sort of white and gold knights. And they're rough. I mean, the first one I ran into, he killed me so many times. It was like I was fighting a boss. And he forced, these things force you into, again, figuring them out. That's a part of the Elden Ring and the Souls-like fun. But, how can this discussion be had right now about how difficult this is as DLC? Of course, there was a Eurogamer article, not an article, there was a Eurogamer review where someone who was, I think, already on New Game Plus, played the DLC, and they complained and said that it was too difficult because, the headlines will go and say, can you believe this? They said it's too difficult. What the hell are they talking about? They want to sensationalize these things. But when you read what they were saying that it felt like it was difficult just for the sake of being difficult, not because it was a part of the great design or something like that. Now, that stuff is subjective, of course. It depends on what you enjoy. But one thing to me is clear. This is an expansion for a game that is huge and, and everyone knows what it is by now. No one's buying this DLC and expecting anything else because you can't even get into this DLC if you haven't gotten as far as killing Radon and Mog in the game. And it took me a long time to get, I know some people fly through these things, but for me, like, that was a lot of game before I got to those bosses and killed them. So there was no way I was getting that far and then, buying DLC to play more. Like, there is so much game after that still that it doesn't make sense. So this is an expansion that's made for people who have played this game at least a hell of a lot, or they've played it to the end, or they've played it over and over again, and they've played the previous games and such, that are going to go out and spend money to play this. They know what they're getting into. They want more of it. And when you want more of something, when there's a game that's this challenging, you want more challenge. No one's buying this just to see a pretty new area. No one's buying this to see to experience the new story only. You're buying this because you want more of what it delivers and you want them to take it up a notch. So I'm not going to ever buy any sort of criticism that it's too tough, because yes, it is probably too tough, but that's who it's for. It's for fans of these games who love this sort of stuff. If you can get through the whole of Elden Ring from beginning to end and finish that game, there's no such thing as saying it's too tough, because you've already been through hell and back and enjoyed all the highs and lows of what this game can deliver. If you decide at that point you want more of this, then it would confuse me if you're buying a DLC expansion that's quite expensive. It's not a quick cheapy extra mission or something to, to just see some more stuff or have a bit of a fun run around. No, there's a good chance you're going to get your ass kicked. And also, people who are in the know with this apparently do know, because I don't know. Apparently the DLC and the expansion stuff for all the Souls games are always the hardest thing. Like, they are hard. They are made that way, and again, it makes sense to me, right? It's supposed to be hard. It's for the fans. It's for the real hardcore guys who want to go in and really get their metal tested. So, yeah. So that's my general feeling on this so far. Like, I am nervously excited to keep playing. I mean, I'm enjoying it so much. There's so much to see. I am getting murdered. I am getting flattened at times. I finally killed that douchebag in the beginning, and I was carrying his ruins around with me. And I needed to try and make up enough to do a level up. And I just before this video landed up losing all of those ruins that I got from finally beating him. Which at this point was like 120,000 or so, or I was on 150,000, something like that. I lost them all because I was just trying to get back to a place where I dropped my ruins after being caught off guard by someone. And while attacking some bird thing, I mistakenly slipped backwards off a rooftop and landed in like a little corner, got cornered by the birds and got wrecked. And I lost all of it. And, and that's Elden Ring. That's a From Software game, right? So I couldn't even get upset. I was like, that's the deal. That's the excitement. You can never have the highs if those lows aren't possible. And it's only with those lows that, again, the highs can happen. So, to me, everything balanced as it should be. I'm having a great time with it. I look forward to playing it more and for giving full impressions and, potentially doing a full review on this. So, if you're wondering if you should get into Elden Ring more, or if you're wondering if you should play this DLC, there's a lot of conversation going on around. And there's a lot of these thoughts of, is it for me? Is it not for me? I once wrote an article, it's on the What's Good website still, which was that the first time I played Bloodborne, I actually got very upset. I was very upset with Dark Souls fans because they had drummed up how hard these games were. So much that when I finally played one and I saw the way the systems work and the way that you sort of respawn and that you don't load back, you respawn. And it's a part of the game. Death is a part of the game. It's like learning, it's a life lesson, learning from your mistakes, getting better, overcoming. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I was quite pissed with these people who had actually put me off these games for so long because they sort of stroking their own ego by telling everyone how tough they are. Elden Ring has more assists in it than any other of these games. And, my kid really wanted to try this, even though he was too young for it at one point. And he played it way too young. I mean, he was barely finishing other games. And if you play like a magic character in Elden Ring, he got to like level 50 and he was like he was young and he wasn't very good at the game at all, and he got all the way to like level 50. He got quite far. And you can use summons and you can use all these things. It's not an easy mode, but heck, they give you some stuff. If you're willing to put up with that and you're willing to take the risk for the highs and lows, you're going to have a fantastic time. If you're someone who just wants to play cozy games, or you don't like this kind of game, or you don't want that challenge, you just want to chill, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 for the past couple of months, on and off, and I tell you something, no game chills me out quite like that. Lie on the couch, feet up in the air, enjoying the story, enjoying the world, enjoying the combat, all that sort of stuff. It's great. You know what I mean? And if that's your jam, play your jam. Don't come play this. But if you're interested in, come do it. If you've played through Elden Ring, you know what to expect. If you're going to buy this DLC, know that you know what to expect, and it's going to probably be harder. But it's awesome. And yeah, it's not going to sell you. This isn't going to change your mind on From Software games. It's not going to change your mind on Elden Ring. So you know what you're getting into. Don't buy it if you don't like these kind of games. you'll be wasting your money. But if you're someone who's into this type of thing, have at it. You're going to have a great time. This is everything that anyone could have ever asked for, from an expansion to an absolutely fantastic game. I can't wait to report back on, what the rest of the experience is like. So what do you think about Elden Ring in general and From Software games, or are you playing the DLC, and what do you think? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to let me know. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, go check out some of the videos. You can also check out these ones that are being recommended to you right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.